have two screens right now.
Oh yeah, for work and stuff.
Yeah, so like I have my laptop screen, which is right here, and then I connected it to like the screen over here. But this one doesn't have a camera.
Yeah, so
So
it looks like you're looking sideways, right?
yeah.
A lot of people do it that way though, man.
Mm.
Yeah. So what's up, man? Long time. We haven't done one of these in a while.
Good, man. Just been busy working.
Yeah. It was busy during the holidays, huh? December.
We also have a bunch of people off work right now, injured and stuff. So
so you gotta cover it, huh?
well, yeah, I mean they're offering the OT, you might as well take it, since like I was saying last time we were talking, gigs are slow right now, right? So
I mean, it depends. If you're the Cali guys, sorry, go ahead.
With that snowfall that happened, that messed shit up pretty bad too, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. You mean for gigs, or you mean for just your regular work in general?
Regular work. Gigs are slow anyways.
What about the crew in Cali?
They're rough, not? Bro, that's like for them out there, it's nonstop, right?
You ever gonna consider doing something like that, like heading down to California for a bit?
Yeah, like I want to, but like it's gotta be like worth it for me in the sense of it's gotta be profitable. It can't be like a situation where I go there and I'm just living like how paycheck to paycheck the situation, right? Like that's what it is right now. Like their boys are making money, but it's not like a busy season over there yet. For the DJs it is. So it's like it's there, but I mean they're still making, I think one of the bros is making like 2,500 a month minimum on low end. But then his rent as loan is $1,200.
I see.
Right, and then he's got Buddy Armor. He gave him a truck to use because he had a spare truck. So he's plus so the gas of the truck is at least $500-600 a month, right? Yeah. So like that's like 2K right there, and then you got to eat and everything. Even though food's cheap out there, think about it. So like, well, if he's making 25, that's basically just you're saving maybe a couple hundred.
It's more the experience, right?
It's experience and that's the whole biggest thing. And like if I didn't have kids and wasn't married and whatnot, it'd be different. I'd kick it. I'd for sure be going, right?
But I mean, you got to think, what if you like flew down for like, maybe let's say you got a vacation week and you fly down and you do gigs throughout that week. It's got to be profitable,
plan.
Right?
Yeah, that's the plan for the season. Like when it picks up, we're trying to get the couple things that we were doing out here with like that mobile juggle and everything to get that set up out there. And if we can get that sorted, then it'd be one of those things where like I'd line up a couple gigs and just fly down and then just literally just out there, just try to get as many gigs as possible while I'm there. Right? Or like if it's pre-booked, like it's like, hey, there's 3 events coming up, fly down for this event. So I'll fly down and then just hang out there for 3-4 days and then fly back. But like the goal is ideally destination stuff, right? But the thing with that is you got to offer something different. And it just thing is to them to fly out Canadian guys, it's more expensive, right? The States, flying out of the States to Mexico and stuff's cheaper than it is from here. So we'll see. Well, I mean, we'll see what happens right now. I mean, it'd be wicked to go out there. Like if I was to just move there, even I'd make way more money out there than I would out here in many aspects, right? From gigs to even nursing to anything, man. Just the business chances out there are so much better than they are out here, right?
Yeah, it's like I mean, it kind of depends, I guess, right? Like if you guys are early adapters there, you guys get in there early before these things start to pick up, then there's something to be said if like you're the first like group of people and you guys, you know, even if you guys have a spectacular like first few years, and then let's say you guys have like rival companies or other people starting to do the same thing, because you guys were first, you guys could probably make a killing. You know what I mean?
We're not the first, right? There's already a Cali crew out there, but being with like we're connected pretty well with Amr Slams, who's doing really, really well with his DJ stuff out there. So just being with him alone is just it's bringing in income for them, right? So, but there's more to it.
What's his name? It's DJ what?
DJ Slams.
DJ Slams. Was that SLAMZ?
Yeah.
Okay. He's got a handle. Anybody want to check him out?
Yes, yeah. Slams on Instagram.
Okay. DJ Slams.
DJ Slams, yeah.
Okay.
He's down to come on the podcast. Actually, I just got to set it up.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have him on eventually, and then you know, then maybe we can ask him some
His
ins and outs of
Instagram
it.
is Slams with a Z and
Mm-hmm.
then DJ.
Oh, okay. Okay. When hopefully we can have him on chat. Maybe he can give us an inside scoop on the DJ industry. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
he's fully he's down. I'll arrange it with our schedule and see what works for us, and then let him know.
Sounds
He's
good.
looking
Sounds
good.
good.
Yeah. He had his own podcast started actually. He just only did one episode, I think, and he just got been busy.
That's the name of the game of the podcast, though, man. Like trying
Yeah.
to because it still is like an over an hour long conversation, and people want you to do it a couple times a week.
Yeah.
So it's like it's hard to get it going, man. Once a
Yeah.
week's hard enough for us, man. We end up
I
waiting a
think we'll
couple
be okay
weeks.
now. Things are different. Just during that season of from Halloween to Christmas was just crazy busy with everything. But now that things are different, it should be okay. We should be able to get it in.
Yeah, yeah. So it's been a couple weeks, but one of the big things was a Mr. Olympia competition. So what'd you think?
I'm just like, dude, that was crazy, bro. Like,
So let's go division to division. Let's start off with open first.
well, I mean, congrats to Hadi and Derek, man. Like,
yeah,
hands down, like that was well deserved. Derek, I mean, I wasn't too surprised that he took second. I knew he's gonna come and do some damage, but I was pretty surprised that he was that up there.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull it up. It's always a pain in the butt when I'm trying to move this thing around. But so this is the champion this year from Iran.
Yeah.
Man, they went with a different look with him this year.
Yeah.
You know, like he was conditioned still. You know, this is another thing too. I heard a lot of because this competition ran so long. You know, people got to understand the bigger you are, the harder it is to maintain a specific look. So like I think normally they go on at like 7 or 8 p.m. and I heard it was going as late.
They didn't go until I think 12:30 almost.
Yeah, midnight.
Yeah.
And man, so
Like
I'm glad he got the nod. I'm glad
Yeah.
they didn't change it up or anything. So like look at him.
Unreal, man.
Just crazy looking dude, man.
Just one thing is like his physique, 100%. Yeah, like it's well deserved, but his story though, man, like from being deaf. I mean, well, he's not fully deaf, but like
he's
the
got
whole
he's got the hearing issues for sure.
and like just a whole hustle up, like the passport issues to visa issues to like, man, overcame everything. And what was Honey saying that he put on 10 pounds of muscle
stage weight? Yeah,
from the time frame of him arriving in the States to Olympia. That was what? How many months was that?
I mean, that's going to be hard to track, you know, if that's actually true. That's like Hani's word for it. Man, this late in the game, him being lifting as long as he is, I find it hard to believe that they just hopped up 10 pounds of lean stage weight.
Yeah.
Like in a year, yes, absolutely. Especially the way this guy trains, for sure.
Yeah.
But in like I think it was like 8 weeks maybe.
Yeah, it wasn't that long, man. It was like I think it was like 2
Yeah, I highly doubt that, man. That must be a little bit of like masala he's adding on there, right? But
maybe.
but it's possible. Some people respond well, you know what I mean? But I'm glad he won because, you know, like he was right there. And he, you know, like there's a lot of debate these days with bodybuilding and you know, like they go for the mass monsters, the big bulky guys that can't hold in the midsection.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was glad that they changed it a bit. They went away from the mass monster big guys and they actually allowed the guys that have conditioning and the better package to kind of get through.
Yeah.
So like, you know, this is crazy. These guys, this is the top two. This is Hadi Chupan and Derek Lunsford, and they're both former 212 guys. You know what I mean? And then obviously Hani worked with Chris this prep. And that was the 4th title. So this is a pretty crazy Olympia for Hadi as a Hani as a coach.
Yeah.
You know, but see, this is where it gets a little tricky for me, right? I'm a huge fan of Hani's, but these guys are all defending champions. So Hadi stopped before. Hadi, as soon as Flex Lewis left, Hadi would have taken over 212 and just he would have been the dominating champion in 212, in my opinion. So you're talking about basically a 212 level champion. He goes to open and, you know, he starts making a scene there. And then Derek is a defending 212 You know, prior to working with Hani, he was like, you know, top 5 or something like that. And then Chris Bumstead is the defending champion. So it's like, I don't know. Like, I like to see it from like, okay, this guy doesn't have the sickest genetics. I wonder how far they can take him.
Yeah.
But I can't take away anything from him as a coach, because I bet you if any other guy took these guys and tried to peak them right for that competition, they probably would have missed the mark and they probably never would have won. So it's not like a knock.
Yeah.
But, you know, like you hear a lot of like Hani working with the genetic elite, working with the champions only. I mean, he has a choice to do that now.
Yeah.
Because you know, he's one. I think he's the best coach in men's open bodybuilding.
I think it's more to it than just the coaching aspect. Like if you listen to a lot of people talk about him, just how he connects with you on a personal mental state. It's not just like the tweaking of whatever to get you to the next level, but just how he is as a person to you, like a family, a friend, a bro to talk to about almost anything.
That's where the coaching industry kind of got screwed over. Look at this guy, man.
Exactly.
Holy crap.
When I saw this, I saw this and he was standing beside Nick, and I was like, and I think that one podcast episode with
with Fuad, yeah.
Yeah, Fuad guys, that when Nick was like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, no.
Out, and nobody believed him, and then he just stood there. I was like, holy.
You know what the crazy thing with him is though? When he's just standing there without hitting a pose, he looks like normal. He doesn't. He looks and like then he just flares the lats, opens up, and next thing you know, it's like, holy crap, this guy's. Like, I think he won those 2 shots for sure, front double bicep and back double bicep, hands down.
It's funny how you say that, because like, you know, like even me myself, like I don't have like the craziest shoulders and stuff like that, right? The width.
Yeah.
But like I remember when I first started learning how to open my lats.
This is not just the lats. This guy's wide.
No. Like, but like it was funny, like going from like whatever, and then all of a sudden when I did like the double bicep and I opened my lat, I remember I was Tyrone guys at the time. They're like, "What the like? How's that all hidden there?" Right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even know, because I didn't know how to open my back for the longest time, right?
A lot of people don't, man. That's the thing. That's what I like with my training programs now. I make sure that we do like things where you get a better mind muscle connection with your.
Yeah.
Look at him, man. This is next up. So. You know, we got the top 2 there. That was I don't know if we have a picture of the top 6 of the open, but first place was Hadi.
What's that other page, the bodybuilding page?
This is Bodybuilding Without Borders.
Okay. No, what's the other one? Buys and Tries?
It's with a Z, right?
I think so. But no, BI and then Buys and Tries.
Right here,
yeah. They might have something.
Maybe. It's hard to tell.
Further down, these are all like posts. They fucking post like 3 times a day.
No, I know it's hard. There's a lot of scrolling that has to be done, but here we go. I got some pictures.
Or you can probably just Google it.
Yeah. So we got Hadi that we already showed. You got Derek Lunsford in second place here, coming up from 212 from last year. Third place, Nick Walker.
Yeah, Nick's.
And then I think fourth. Oh, right here.
Yeah.
So fourth place, Brandon Curry, former Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
Previous years, last year's Mr. Olympia Big Rami dropped to 5th place.
Yeah.
And then Samson Dauda, number 6. So I remember when John Meadows was still alive, he was talking about this guy making some noise in the coming year.
Yeah.
And this is where, like, this guy's a perfect example of what I mean by you could hit a pro status, but there's a difference between working with a coach and doing it yourself. So prior to, his coach was essentially like him and his wife, right? And they would just prep themselves to get into it. And he was cool. Like, he was getting like top 3 to 5, like in the top 5 at least. And then he worked with Meadows the 1 off season, and he just turned into this monster. And Meadows told him too, he's like, just watch, man, watch what you're going to be able to do. And then unfortunately Meadows passed away, and then Milos took over.
Well, this guy's the amount, I was recently reading some stuff and just hearing about him. The amount of gear he takes, like,
it's like nothing.
It's like people won't even believe it from the numbers I heard.
Yeah.
But like, I remember when he went on Fuad's show in Toronto and he was posing there, apparently he was on nothing.
Yeah.
And nobody would believe him. Like, you're talking shit. Shit. Like, no, he's like, he wasn't even on TRT.
Yeah.
Like, and and this guy's just fresh. What, he's 35, I think, 34, 35.
He's in the later 30s, I believe.
Yeah,
37 maybe.
Okay, well, yeah, but I mean, even then, he's just starting. Like, it's gonna be interesting to see what he does at the Arnold.
I don't know if I'll say he's just starting, but generally speaking, in my opinion, jiu-jitsu and bodybuilding, your primes are later in life, like 35 and older. Like, how old was Ronnie Coleman when he won his first Mr. Olympia? Because I remember he was like he was one of the older what's it called? He was one of the older bodybuilders.
How old was?
I'm just taking a look right now. So he won in 98.
Just
I don't know. Somebody's like, Ronnie Coleman when he won his first trophy. He was 26 years old.
yeah, I just read that too.
In either case, it was 98. And I think when he retired, he was trying to think here. Let me just take a quick look. So he retired in 07. And he was, all right, never mind, man. He's it's like the information not popping up. So it's like he's 58 years old now, but that doesn't mean anything.
Hold on. 1964 minus. He was 34.
Okay, yeah.
So if he's born 1964.
Yeah.
And if he won in 1998, you said?
98 was the first one, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, 34.
Yeah, so like, you know, with Ronnie too, Ronnie made it to the Mr. Olympia competition as a natural.
Yeah.
So let's put it this way into perspective. To become a pro naturally is already hard enough as it is, especially the bigger the divisions get, like men's open bodybuilding, classic physique. You know, maybe arguably men's physique, you could possibly sneak your way in. I know there's like one natural guy that made it in. Actually, Keon Pearson was natural when he became pro as well. Mm-hmm. But Ronnie Coleman basically qualified for the Mr. Olympia competition and he was still natural. And then he hopped on and then it became, you know, the monster that he is after he started working with Chad Nichols as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, a lot of surprises. Classic physique was pretty straightforward. You know, Chris Bumstead was the winner. Kind of surprised that Terrence Ruffin dropped in placings, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people are surprised at that.
Like, was he was out of the top 6, right? Top 5, he was out.
I think so. I didn't pay attention to like.
Yeah. So it was Chris number 1, Ramon from Brazil number 2. Number 3, I believe was
wasn't it Urs?
Urs.
Yeah.
And then number 4 was Breon Ansley. And then number 5 was Mike the Badass. He's a guy from Europe. So I think Terrence might have been 6th, man. He dropped from like 2nd place all the way down. That's how tight this game is, like how close people are. You know, like if you don't come back with your textbook condition or don't improve each year, you can get dropped way down, you know, which sucks because he won the Arnold this past year, I think. Yeah. So it's nuts. I think men's physique changed over. So I think the reigning champion's not the champion anymore. Some Emil Clark guy won the title. I don't follow it too much. Once I start doing my own competitions, then I'm going to be forced to do men's physique. I'll pay more attention to those guys. You know what I mean? But, and then, you know, I started to pay attention to the ladies classes, but it's kind of tricky, man. Like it's really tricky to see like how these divisions go. I don't even know like how they judge each lady differently. It feels like I'm just looking clones of the same person. And I feel like they could easily like miss somebody that's actually like champion level material. They might be put in the corner, maybe crappier lighting on that side. That person gets overlooked, and that could be like a champion tier person. And there's so many of them, they have to do it quick.
Yeah.
And this Olympia was massive, man. Like I think like, what is it? Normally, I think the men's open Olympia after top 15, they don't count anymore. And they had like 35 people qualify or 30 or 35. You know what I mean? So imagine all the other classes.
Yeah.
Right. It's just absurd, man.
They changed the rules now, right?
Yeah, now the rules are changed, but it must have been because it was just so crazy, this Olympia, man.
Yeah, it's insane, man. Like so that should be ideally the cream of the crop, top tier, like, you know, 15, 20 guys max. I think 15 is even good, right? 15,
yeah, I agree because, you know, like one of the knocks that I had with jiu-jitsu was anybody could sign up for the world championships and compete. So you could be like brand new, you just hop in and you compete. And I always thought that there should be like a world's qualification. You know what I mean? Like, I think they do have something now with points and stuff like that. But like back in the day, I always used to say, like, you have to like win a qualifier to qualify for the worlds, right?
Yeah.
At least for the world championships, maybe not the Pan Ams or the Euros or stuff like that. Like ADCC has trials.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even their ADCC Pro, which is
Yeah.
in the gi, they had a qualification. So I was always like, yo, man, like, how come there's no qualifications for the worlds? And anybody could just be like, yeah, I competed at the worlds, but it's like, well, you've only been training for 2 months, and you train at a gym right by Long Beach or by the Pyramid, so you could just go, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, great Olympia. I think myself, I'm gonna start going more often to the events. I know we have a local show, the Van City Pro Show. It's usually in October, but I'm just gonna start to get a little bit more familiar with the circuit, because like you were talking about, it's not just adjust somebody's diet, adjust somebody's training.
Yeah.
A lot of it is like, imagine like Hani, what he has to do with Chris Bumstead. Chris Bumstead had to like cover himself up because fans just rate him when they see him, right? So Hani had to navigate that, get his weigh-ins in, talk to him, see how he's doing mentally, see how his body's looking. You know what I mean? Help with the hotel stuff, help with the food stuff. When it comes to showtime, it's not like, oh, you just tell them what to eat, and then do that. Like, if you want to be the top tier coach, you got to make sure that your athlete's like primed and ready, right? Make sure tan's all good, all that stuff, right? That's why, like, being a coach on show day, it's like you're running around, you're doing a lot of work. And if you're not, then, maybe you could be a better coach.
Yeah.
Cause I see him, he's always like, okay, so how are they looking? Okay, cool.
Did you see
like,
during his podcast recently?
Yeah. I watched half of it. I didn't watch the whole thing.
I watched the first bit, just how you're saying, like, he didn't even sleep because everything went so late, and it made Hadi take off the tan and redo it because it just wasn't looking right.
Yep. Smart move, because a lot of the guys said that because it's so dark back there, a lot of the tan was cakey in certain spots.
Yeah.
So, man,
the lighting got a lot of hate.
Look at Hunter's. Hunter was off, in my opinion. Like, he wasn't the best package, or the lineup was just bigger. I guess you can't say that he was off. Well, but I feel like his tan was really dark, man. Like, really, really, really dark and cakey. I think that could have been better. Like look at the top guys. They all had great finish on their tan. But then that's where it makes me kind of think, like, 35 guys. Can you really get the best tan on 35 guys with really crappy lighting in the back? Like, I know those ladies, and I'm not too sure if guys apply the tan, but I know the ladies that do it, they do a really, really good job, especially at that level. It's just like, if conditions aren't the greatest, it's not a well-lit area, they got this one little like light here that you got to like cover the whole guy's body. Yeah. It's not their fault,
and it's not the same light they use outside. Ideally, you should be using the same lighting bulb or whatever it is behind when you're doing the whole tanning that you should be using out there. That way you get the same idea. Because I think the pre-show, not the pre-show, what's it called?
The prejudging,
sorry. That's done at a different location, different spot, different stage.
Oh, I see.
It's done at the expo stage, and that one uses the regular warm lighting that they've always used up all the years for bodybuilding. And then the main stage is on the big stage, whatever it is, and they're using LED lights. LED lights apparently wash out the entire look.
Yeah, it's possible.
Right? They're like,
lighting's always been a cause of debate in those shows. I know some of our audience doesn't really know too much about the bodybuilding stuff, but it's one of those things that we're both passionate about. And like these little nuances when you're talking about like the best built bodies in the world, lighting, tan, managing stress, like the coaches that knew, like, okay, it looks like it's going to be running late, we need to have an extra 4 meals ready just in case. And I bet you there's a handful of competitors that just weren't ready, and they got flatter and flatter and flatter because they just couldn't keep the body. And this is where like the bodies are so different. Like I remember Chad Nichols saying that like he can't carb up Rami, otherwise he spills easy. So he keeps like a guy that's like almost 300 pounds on stage at like 200 grams of carbs. And for most people watching, like a guy that's about 200 pounds, 200 grams of carbs could be considered like low, depending on how their diet is, right? So there's a lot of stuff like that. But I like the fact that it kind of sucks because there's some people that made it in through points, and then they made some noise in some of these competitions. But I guess it makes sense where it's like you have to win a pro show to be in the biggest stage, right? Like I think that makes sense. I think where it screws a lot of people over is like the smaller categories, not the smaller, the lighter categories like men's physique, bikini wellness, the ladies stuff, right? Like it'll still bring the best athletes at the show. But like you've seen it. Like imagine like you can't win a pro show just yet, but let's say like you rack up enough points, you get better and better and better, and then you're able to slide into like getting placed at the Olympia, right?
Yeah. Hey,
So it's one of those things.
you gotta go. Oh my god. You say hi, Tom.
Hi.
You just came from school, right?
School. Is it strong start or preschool?
Preschool. Okay, go. Go eat your cake, pop over there. Go.
All right, so we'll start off with some questions then, bro. So this one's actually from you. Who's the IFBB Pro bodybuilder that you would like to train with?
Currently?
Yeah.
Oh man, there's so many now. I mean, for the longest time, if I could go back and there's one person that could train, I would love to train just me, it would be Sean Roden.
Sean Roden?
Yeah. I don't know. There's just something about his personality, just the way he was, that always attracted. Even though I didn't want, like, he never really posted too much about training and stuff. Just going and training with him would be kind of cool. But I think right in this day and age, somebody that I'd probably like to train with, probably Ian or Nick, just to learn like just the way how they're so strict on their form and everything, and they're just how they connect, because like nothing changes in those guys. Is like lifting, man. Like he does the same weight and it's the same form. Like, he goes up in weight, it just nothing changes. And just the mind to muscle connection that they connect with, that kind of stuff would be kind of cool to learn with them. That's probably I'd say out of those two, either one of those guys, like right now. But if I had a choice, it'd be Sean. Guy would be fun.
Yeah. But that would be more for the experience, right? Actually, you're gonna learn some stuff from him. That guy's won 7 pro shows too, right?
Yeah, he's won stuff. His intensity would be kind of cool to like train with.
But then there's Branch Warren if you want intensity, bro.
Yeah, dude, that would be scary, man.
Right. Or train with Ronnie.
Oh, that'd be the day that I'd be going in and be like, oh, that'd be the day my knee would be all tight, my hips would be all off. It'd be like, oh shit.
You got all the excuses that line up, right?
No, like today, like I was going to do legs and I get there and like it was just so yesterday I was doing chest and I was training with Sim, and she put the dumbbells by the bottom of the bench by the feet.
Okay.
And I went to grab my weights and I did my set. And
so you did like one of these things, or you just like try to reach for them down here like this, or?
No, I grabbed them. I grabbed mine from the rack.
Oh, okay.
So when I came back up, when I did my set, you come back up, my feet landed on one of the dumbbells and I twisted. So I did something weird with my back and I was like, fuck. So I was like, whatever. So I go to the legs today and my back's acting up, right? I'm like, oh man, like I got through hamstrings, got through hamstrings, got through the quad extensions, and then when I went to hack squats, I was like, oh man. Then it just started acting up and I was like, what do? Do I like be a bitch and just let it go?
Yeah.
I just kept going. I was like, you know what? I didn't go up on the weight, but I just kept going like till failure as much as I could. And then I did a leg press. I was acting up a leg press too, so I just took off a plate on each side and just did as many as I could that way, and did the sets. But like, it's one of those days, man. I was like, fuck. I was training with you or bro today. It would have been like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? And I'm like, no, do my back.
No. My philosophy's changed a lot, man. Because I
mean, like, it would have been annoying because like I know I could go harder, but like when those tweaks happen, man, you're just like, it's so different now. Man, now I feel like ever since like this, like I mean, what, 33, any little tweak is more intense than it was like 5 10 years ago. Man. Before, the back hurt, you just pull through.
Yep.
Now it's like the back's tight and you go down like, oh no, I'm not getting back up.
Yeah. But you got to be smarter, I think. Like I still have those sets where I go like to that point where it's like no matter what, but like now I have to be really picky with which movements I do it on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna go like crazy hard. Like I just challenge myself different ways. So rather than me doing barbell back squats or something and screwing up my back or my hip at this stage, I just do front squats. Right. And it's like, I wonder if I could get up to 3 plates front squats, 4 plates front squat for reps. Right. Yeah. Rather than just doing like, I'm sure I could do like 2, 3, maybe 4, maybe 5, but it's like, what about 12? What about 15?
Yeah.
And then, so like doing it that way, not only does it give me some variety in my training, but then I can experiment with different training styles and be like, oh, okay, this could be useful for some of the people I work with that have back issues, right? Like oddly enough, if I do a back squat, my lower back and my hips start to bother me after like week 4. If I do front squats, no issue, no belt, no nothing needed.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
really weird. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And it's just a loading pattern and things like that. But I think back to the question. So like I would say I would like to train with Derek.
Hmm.
And the reasoning behind it is because I think it's really hard for somebody to teach you like mind muscle connection, right? Just because it's like it's such an individual thing and how you feel it. But I think like because it's the biggest IFBB Pro and it didn't say coach, I think he would have an understanding of like how Hani trains and how he coaches. And I think Hani creates the mind muscle connection through like his volume style of training, but also like posing and hitting shots like when your chest or when your arms or shoulders are full. So you can actually connect them. Because if you can't flex it, you know what I mean? Like, do you really have control of the tissue? You know what I mean? You should be able to activate it. So I'd like to train with him, and then obviously like if Meadows was still alive, that would be like one of the legendary workouts to get in.
100%.
Right?
Meadows. I mean, if you want to go with coaches, it would be wicked to train with Hani or even Matt Johnson. Kind of cool.
I feel like with Johnson, man, it's like it's a little bit different because like if you were to train, for example, with Nick, I don't think there would be much of a difference between training with Nick and training with Matt. I don't think it's like the hardcore training changes, maybe like in terms of like sequencing of movements and rep ranges, but like the actual training itself, you know. So then I started thinking about it. I think I watched a couple of videos with Derek, and Derek, the way he was explaining the training, he was explaining like what you want to do, avoid this, avoid that. I'm like, oh man, this guy would have some great tips.
Yeah.
To activate certain things, you know what I mean?
That's what I mean. Like, because like you said it perfectly. Like, you know, Ian was saying recently, he just learned how to train his back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, this guy's been pro for how many years? And then he finally realized how to change it, how to activate his back the best way possible. So those kind of things would be kind of cool to learn, right?
Yeah. And I mean, that's one of those things where it's like when you train with somebody, like it's the funny stuff. Like I think I was watching a video with Bumstead and Hani's like, whenever you're doing any kind of pull down, look up. Keep your chin lifted, look up. And you know, how many people do you see in the gym? They're looking up at the beginning of a pull, then they start dropping their hands down, and then their head comes down like this, and they're trying to like finish it, like almost like trying to get their chin over the bar, like they're doing a chin up with a lat pull down, right?
Yeah.
So you see like the subtle things that are like, it seems like easy. I read a lot of comments of like, oh, you know, what's so special about Hani? And it's like, well, you know, if these guys couldn't hit the mark with other people, and now they're hitting the mark with this guy, he's doing something right. You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot to be said about that.
Did you see that video of, you know, Seth Frosky?
Yeah,
he'd be pretty cool to train with too, man.
Yeah.
Just the reason I'd say that is especially with the way he trains now.
Yeah.
Functional training, and like watching his videos now, like he'd be one cool person to go train with too, just to get that longevity training mindset from him now too, right?
I gotta argue with longevity training because how old is he?
No, what I mean by longevity is like he's doing functional stuff that like he's just getting stronger. He's doing like a lot more push-ups, a lot more body weight stuff, not just going ham on like bodybuilding. Because that one video he trained with Hani after how long?
Yeah.
And Hani, he used to train with Hani, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, he did the one chest workout with Hani, and he's like insane. Like him doing it alone, he gets a wicked pump. But just with Hani being there, those little things of him just watching where his elbows are positioned, where he's pushing from, doing those extra forced reps, and just watching if the muscles actually being targeted, like made the craziest difference for his workout. And that was like his second set. And
yeah, that's what I noticed. Like at first, I always used to question like, why do people need me to come in person? Like, why can't I just send them like a workout routine with some videos explaining the form? And then when I see them doing it, and they think when they're doing the set, because maybe they don't record themselves, they're doing it a specific way. Next thing you know, I'm like, hey, dude, you're doing this wrong. You need to close your elbows. You need to keep your head up. Next thing you know, they're like, oh, I wasn't doing that. And then people want to have you there more frequently, right? So I get it, the perspective there.
the swing. It's like there's so many things, like especially when the reps are getting hard, like people's form changes, they start cheating. And if you're there and you know what you're looking for, it's like, dude, what are you doing? You're swinging. Stop. Like there's having someone there makes a big difference, man. Like I know there's a lot of people that say they can't train with someone, but I feel like if you're training with someone that's in the right same mindset as you and understands lifting, understands everything, it's beneficial.
I think it has to be complementary. It has to work together. So like sometimes you'll have, in a rare situation, the guys like are equal strength, but that's really rare.
Yeah.
It's just like if you're the stronger one, it shouldn't be you having to pull up the other person all the time.
Yeah.
That other person should be there to be like, all right, cool, you got an extra force rep in there. We can pull another one out, or your form looked really shitty today. They can kind of provide that feedback to provide value, right? And on top of that, a very underrated thing is accountability, knowing that you got to show up because you got somebody else coming. It's like, all right, man, I can't skip out on this workout.
Yeah.
Right. And if you show up, maybe it was going to be a really shitty workout. Next thing you know, the other person's there, they're busting their butt. Next thing you know, they're like, you're motivated now. You're like, all right, let's push it. So that segues pretty much into the next question, which I think we kind of answered, but which coach, like pro coach, would you want to work with if you had the opportunity?
Hani, I'd say Hani, man, just to see what tweaks he really does make in his programs that get people to grow. If that's current coaches, it'd be Hani. I think Milos would be interesting.
And Slam.
Yeah, like something about
he's not. I'm just joking, guys. Not every single one of his clients is on that stuff. It's just a joke.
But
I got a lot of respect for Milos. He's one of the best coaches in the world.
Hani, if John was around, John hands down. But as of right now, I'd probably say Hani.
Yeah. So, like I would obviously do Hani too, but just to play like maybe play a different game. I think I would probably, work. Ben. No, Ben's great too for sure. Like he worked with Hunter Labrada.
Yeah.
Who's a gentleman from the UK, the classic physique guy?
Neil
Curry. And Dean White also. I think he was 212.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I was like, it would have been medals all day, to be honest, had he been alive. It's just his training, the way that he thinks, the way he adjusts things, his mellow attitude, the utmost respect, the way that he blends science in with bro science, like how he he can explain the intricacies of all that stuff, but keep it real simple. So like a dumb person like me could get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, because I don't like exercise physiology that much. I study it because I kind of have to know it as a coach, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
When he talks about it, I'm like, how come it sounds so simple when you explain it? When I say it, it sounds like gibberish, right? So I would always, but I would say probably I would go with Chad Nichols or Jansen. And Chad Nichols more so because I know he's like, he can be extreme in terms of like, let's pull the food way down. Let's increase the food like crazy. Let's eat cheat meals. Let's do like a full day off. Like, those type of things. Mm-hmm. I've heard stories he used to do that. So I think I'd probably go with him. If I was being completely honest, I'd probably go with Chad. But you know what, man? It depends. So now I'm more into the natural bodybuilding scene. So you want to look at people that coach natural bodybuilders, even though it's kind of the same thing. That's why I like Tani, because he came from that natural background.
Yeah.
Well, there's like a guy that's relatively popular in the natural bodybuilding community. His name's Paul Ravella. I'd probably work with him if I'm being completely honest.
Mm-hmm.
So next one is how can I I think this is more so for what I used to do. How do I balance gaming, training, and nutrition? So gaming as in playing video games, training and nutrition. Did you ever play games and stuff and then like train and stuff around that, or you never got into that stuff?
I stopped gaming probably after PS2.
Okay.
And then when PS3 came out, I maybe played like Grand Theft Auto, a few random games, but like those I always played at late night when I couldn't sleep, which probably made sleeping option even worse.
Yeah.
But I've never been when I started training, gaming was never something I was into, like, or affected my life where I had added in. I know a lot of people around me currently that are all about COD and everything, and like it's like a ritual for them that they're gonna play online at certain times, right?
Yeah. It's
I
just
just
connecting with your friends and playing and having a good time. I think
I
it's
just yeah. For me, I didn't get into. I just knew that like if I'm into games, like I used to play. I feel like if I got back into it, it's something that I'd probably just take time away from things I can do, right?
fair enough. Yeah. So for me, to be honest, man, I had a craze where I would just play all the time.
Yeah, yeah,
Like so I would like have it would be mostly on my days off. All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
So I'd go to work, and then when I would work, I would lift, and then after lifting, I would do jujitsu most nights out of the week, at least 5 to 6 nights a week.
Mhm.
But like that one day off would be like 8 to 10 hours playing all day. I
Yeah,
would like play all day. It can become addictive, but the question is like, how do you balance it? And this is where it kind of gets tricky for me. Yeah. You have like pro bodybuilders that talk about, oh, you got to just bodybuild, right? And
yeah,
now, Meadows early on, I learned from him. He always used to say it too. It's like, you can do this stuff and still have a life. You can still work a job,
yeah,
right? Provide for your family and have because he would say back in the day, you don't make money from bodybuilding because in the early days, unless you're like the top five, you ain't making nothing.
yeah,
And I learned real quick, like, how hard is it really? You got to work out for an hour to 2 hours a day, right? Maybe 4, 5 days a week. Some people work out less, like 3 days a week, and they keep growing.
yeah,
And you got to eat your meals.
yeah,
And now we know the research is straight. Like, you can eat 6 meals a day, you
yeah,
can eat 4 meals a day, right?
yeah,
Generally, pulling it down to 3 meals a day if you're a bigger person can be kind of tricky,
yeah,
but it's not impossible.
yeah,
There's setting up your meals like balanced macros, then there's flexible dieting, right? Like, it can work. You can play like a game for an hour, then take a break, eat a meal, and then go play for another hour, and you can do that.
yeah,
So technically speaking, you're going to eat anyways. So you're just eating around your goals, and then the
yeah,
training is the only thing that's outside of the norm. And you
yeah,
probably get that break that you get away from the screen time is probably a good thing for you.
yeah,
So I don't really see what you have to balance between gaming and that. Just like play, but then also get in your meals, and then also put in your training and nutrition like kind of around that. And you should be able to. If anything, you won't like fall asleep and skip meals because some people take a daytime nap. Next thing you know, they wake up, they're like, oh crap, now I got to do this, and this, and they miss meals, right? But definitely, key tip is just going to be prepare your meals.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
Working out fasted, good or bad?
I it's I think it's a preference. I've done both. Um, I do find that if I do fasted training, if I didn't eat enough the day before or you didn't eat all my meals, it's not good. Because you're just
Wait,
going
but
in.
are you having an intra workout drink or just water? Because that's another thing.
Before it used to be just water, but like over the last few years, intra has been a regular thing.
So what do
Um,
you have in your intra?
right now, it's the EEAs, Gatorade, and creatine.
Okay.
Those three things. So when I have that, obviously it's okay. But mind you, if I haven't ate my meals the day before or leading up to the fast training, I think that accumulates. But if everything's bang on, I had a good meal before bed, then I'm okay. Because take a little bit of caffeine or something, get in there, and then the intra helps you get through it. For me, I love it because it sets the tone for the day.
Mhm.
When I used to do 4:30, 5 a.m. sessions, be done by like 5:45, out, leave, shower, off to work by 6. By the time I got to work, like I was already so many steps ahead of everybody else.
Mhm.
So like, man, I was already released everything. I'm like just in a better state, better mindset, and being off at work at after 3, I'm free.
Mhm.
So I feel like there's benefits to it, especially for people that claim they don't have time. Oh, I don't have time late in the day. I don't have time. I don't have time. I think it's a choice. If you get up early enough, train fasted. There's the whole talk about it burning fat, extra fat, and all that, right? But I don't know how much that really makes a difference if your calories are still high, right? Like I think that, but I personally like it.
Mhm.
Um, I prefer fasted cardio over fasted lifting personally, just because mentally I feel like one meal in, I'll feel like yeah I'm good to go, pump wise and everything. But once you get through those first couple sets, I think it doesn't really make a difference when the pump starts to come in.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah, for me, it's changed a lot. If you talked to me like 6 years ago, I probably would have told you like, oh, you're catabolic. Doesn't matter what amino acids you drink, you're going to be catabolic. And You're going to burn muscle. Don't be an idiot. Make sure you get at least one meal before you train, all that stuff, right? And think about it. If you're going to train at 5, what are you going to wake up at 3 to eat? And especially me, like I like my stomach empty when I train. I don't want to feel bloated going
Yeah,
into the
that's
gym.
another
So,
thing. Exactly. Yeah.
so anybody that wants or is already training fasted, just to make sure that it's better, just add a little bit extra calories or pull some calories from the earlier meals and add it to your last meal of the day, because you'll be utilizing those calories for the most part for your training.
Yeah.
I like to have an intra, but like right now I'm in a surplus. So the intra carbs are not as important unless you have a hard time getting calories in. So I like to eat my calories. So right now my interest is amino acids, uh, creatine and glutamine. And glutamine is just because I always forget to take it. So I just throw it in my intra. Um, so yeah, like there from a performance perspective, I don't really see that much of a difference. Like maybe mentally placebo or whatever. And for the fasted cardio, I think the benefit is like so minor, like a 1% benefit in terms of doing fasted cardio because your blood glucose is a little bit lower in the mornings or whatever. That's kind of been debunked a little bit, but a lot of athletes still do fasted cardio because it just sets the tone for the day. You get your activity in, maybe you have a little bit of caffeine, you're fresh, you kind of have like you're already ahead of the curve, right? So, and then cardio itself, like for me, it's like, it's changed, man. Working with clients is, I would have done the stuff that I do now before. Now I try it out because I want to see if it can work so I can use it as something. So lately all my cardio has been as like forms of walking. And because it's not like high stress on the body or the central nervous system, my legs don't feel banged up from doing like 5 days a week cardio, like moderate intensity or high intensity. Like weight's just melting off this time around, doing it this way. And I tested it out with a bunch of clients too. And it's nuts. Like I was thinking, I'm like, if I'm getting somebody ready for a show, 100%, I'm going to use walking. Like Ronnie Coleman back in the day during his prime, he would just walk on the treadmill for an hour before in the morning, an hour at night. That's like very close to a stage back in the day from Arnold's time, the 50s, all those guys that were shredded with great bodies. You never heard of them talking about HIIT cardio or moderate intensity cardio. It's just be active throughout the day, just walk a little bit more, and that was it. So then it's really got me thinking. So I started like putting a protocol in place of like how you can utilize that as your cardio. And you know what, man, it's like a lot of things coming together. When you look at things in the perspective of a coach and not just yourself, you start to realize like, oh, I could use that. Oh, I could use that here. So I remember you used to bring up like if it fits your macros. And if it fits your macros used to be like, in my mind, it used to be like, dude, like you're gonna eat Pop Tarts instead of like potatoes and berries. Well,
Yeah.
what you were saying is like, no, 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 I'm not saying that. I'm saying, maybe that one meal you can throw it in, you'll be fine. And I used to be so hard headed. I'd be like, dude, what are you doing? In my head,
Yeah.
I was thinking you're just gonna do Pop Tarts for all your carbs,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And I'm like, this guy's gonna ruin his body, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But now, like my approach is, I like to start people off with a structured plan, like, hey, eat this many meals, here's some options for your meals, here are your macros. And then it's like, let's start to work with what you enjoy and throw that stuff in, you know what I mean? And now it's like it's more of an education that I do versus like just telling you eat this, eat that, try this, try that. It's more like, okay, what can we fit in? And like educating the person. So if they ever do stop working with me, which people will for sure, they're at least like, yo, this guy taught me how to adjust macros or how to track my macros so I can include foods that I enjoy and it doesn't feel like I'm dieting year round with this restrictive eating, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, there's a couple things there, but um in terms of the original question, it was just basically it doesn't matter. Like fasted cardio doesn't, I don't think it affects you
No.
like crazy positively or negatively. Do what you like. If you like to do fasted cardio, just make sure your dinner the night before is a little bit bigger, right? And if you take an intra workout drink, if you have carbs in there, then that's great too. Uh, Next one's what are your thoughts on Andrew Tate?
Uh, it. I don't know, man. For me, I think it's what he was speaking originally. Yeah, I came off wrong, but if you really listen to his stuff, he's just speaking against the system, man. And anyone that speaks against a system that doesn't speak what the world, needs to hear, is gonna get hated on. And it's whatever media is gonna portray, right? Like it's a dynamic of which way media wants to take it, social media wants to take it, and that's what people are gonna do because people are puppets. Everyone's a fucking puppet. COVID came out, everyone's like, oh my god, COVID, get your shot, blah blah blah. What about now? Now everyone's like sitting there like, oh, whatever, right? Like people just are so, they don't do their research. I'm not okay with the way he treats women or the way he generalizes that stuff. But again, if there's a few interviews, if you hear of his, he's like, he just did that for like attention.
What do you mean by treating women? Like, did he say something in particular?
So the way he talks about them, like downgrading them, like the whole like, it's just weird, man. Like he's like the alpha male thing, you know, like I don't want to get into detail with it, but like, yeah, he doesn't say like the great best stuff, like how they should be treated, like just the way they should be treated. We should be like
I get your perspective too with him, where it seems
roles, man. Like you're right, like there's things to it, like men expected to do all that certain things, but then when you do the roles reversed, you get lashback.
Yeah.
Like it's not that we expect them to do like cook, clean and all that, but I mean like if you're gonna put certain things that you gotta do, then it's got to be fair both ways, right?
Yeah, I think where Andrew Tate gets triggered is when they say like we don't need men.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't need men type of thing, like those kind of like extreme things. But also you have to understand it's in the whole social media thing. So he understands like what topics are going to get a lot of attention, and then how do I irritate the problem a little bit so it starts to get people's emotions involved, and then he starts to bring in his logic.
Yeah. Like
so then he draws people in with this angry emotion, and then he explains the logic, and they're like, oh, he's actually kind of right.
Like he got hated on with he had that thing. What was that system? He had that online business going, right?
Top G,
like
I think it's called, right?
Whatnot. And like he was getting hated on for that. They're like, oh, you're exploiting, you're doing this and that. And his response to it was like, people are gonna do this anyways. Like if he's just monetizing a system for someone to use,
yeah,
it's a business model, right? He's just choosing he's just choosing business in a different field.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. And it's just people are just fucked, man. Like it's like you can't do anything in anywhere, but you can't state anything. You can't state your opinion anywhere online without these trolls just going there, sitting on there behind their keyboards, talking shit to you.
Right? Yeah, but that's been around to a certain degree for years since social media first started. It's just now that it's like now the weapons that they have are like ridiculous, like how much they can just like ruin stuff. You know what I mean?
And like anyone speaking against system or getting some sort of like movement, and people are starting to listen, wake up, they're getting shut down so fast, man.
Yeah, but
that's like every aspect, like in like religions and things like that. People that are up and coming, all of a sudden they're shot, they're dead, or something happens to them, or they just get shut out, right? Like all this stuff happening right now. I mean, I'm not going to get into it. Like, I don't know if you're watching it, but like all this thing about like they're trying to get the pedophiles approved. I don't know if that's 100% true, saying that like there should be laws passed that they don't get in trouble. They're going to help the world and shit. Like, man, are you like, no, like,
yeah.
You know, like that's not cool what they should be doing. Like they're like, oh, we're just people. We like kids. How are we wrong?
Okay, yeah.
Like,
I see.
No, bro. Like you come
That's
here, my
nuts,
kid,
man.
You're. No, I'm going to jail. Like,
it's kind of just like the whole acceptance thing. Like they're trying to accept everything,
everything's just being taken too far, man. Like it's not that people are against it; just people are just abusing it, man. Like
I don't know. Maybe I'm just a bit of an optimist. I think like eventually down the line, right? Somebody's going to be like, all right, not happening. Like we'll let this go for as long, like up to this point, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like not the subject that you're talking about, just in general. Like they'll be like, okay, that's far enough. This is kind of getting out of hand. Let's handle it. So I kind of got some optimism in terms of just like, things will start to get better, but I could be wrong too, right? Kind of got to see how things play out. And
they're talking about these things in such young ages, man. Like kindergarten. Oh, yeah. Like, man, you don't need to fill the kids' ears at that age, man. Let them grow up a little bit. Let them figure out who they are. Like, I'm not. It's such a tricky conversation, man. Like, you say anything about it, you're gonna get dogged on, man. Like,
yeah, and like, do you ever remember like how much of a disconnect it used to be when we were younger in elementary or high school? Like how our parents had no idea what was going on. It's kind of the same aspect when our kids get into elementary school, high school, and stuff like that. The terms that they use, the whole dynamic of how school is and what's cool, what's not. You ever watch like 21 Jump Street?
Yeah.
Right. Remember when they go to, was it 21 Jump? Yeah, it was 21 Jump Street. And then they're talking about like, wearing their backpacks, one strapping or two strapping, right?
Yeah.
Like the one guy's like, no, we always one strap, bro, one strap. And then he
Yeah.
goes back and things have changed. And now it's like everybody's two strapping it, right?
Yeah.
It's a gross simplification of what I'm saying, but things are gonna be different for our kids when they go in, you know what I mean? So like it's just hard, it's gonna be hard to keep up, man. It's gonna be hard to keep up because you want to provide, but at the same time, like who knows what's going on in and out. But uh the next one is there a difference between if you're enhanced or natural when it comes to your training?
For sure.
What's the difference?
Your recovery, strength, like so many aspects, man. Like you're depending on what you're taking, you're automatically just going to be stronger to lift more, lift longer.
No. I think that the question is when they talk about training, like when you program the training. So do you work out differently because you're on gear, or do you work out kind of the same, or like do your workouts change if you're on or off?
I
Like
think I think they change because when you're on, your mental aspect is I'm enhanced. I can go harder. You push harder. You're like I'm not doing enough. I'm gonna go harder. I'm on. So you just constantly go. And depending on what you're on, you are gonna feel like you're actually on something. So there's this energy and rage and whatever in you that's gonna make you push harder,
I,
right?
I think,
Depending on what you're on, right?
yeah.
Like let's say you're running GH, enough of it with some testosterone and whatever else, you're gonna feel invincible then.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're gonna lift weights and your joints aren't gonna hurt, your muscles aren't gonna be sore, like you're gonna crank it. But then if you're natural and you go to crank the same weight and you're not on all that's like you come off everything. If someone's completely natural, never done anything, they're not gonna know the difference. But being enhanced and then going off and going back to the weights without them protecting your joints and all that, there's a difference. There is, and the mental aspects of the thing, because I know people that I've trained with around all these years. It's like the day they do their shot, they're just like they feel like they're just crazy that day and 2 days, 3 days leading into it, right?
Yeah.
After that, and as soon as you see these guys come off, it's like a major downshift, just downhill spiral of where they're at because your hormones are all over the place now, right? Things are coming up. Most people don't do their post properly. That's the biggest issue too, right? I know so many guys around me that gear regularly, but they never ran a post.
Yeah, but that's because it's like the addiction factor of it all, where it's I feel so good, I don't want to come off. Right?
No, they come off. They're messed up for a bit, but they've never ran a post.
I see.
They're like, my thing's not working. I can't get it up. What? Oh fuck, bro! You didn't run anything afterwards. What do you think is gonna happen, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And most think it's a cost thing because people don't understand. Gear is expensive, but your post is equally as expensive. It's part of it, right?
Yeah.
And people don't normally do that. They'll just half-ass their post, and that's where issues arise, right? But there is a difference, hands down. Like I don't think there's not.
Yeah. So if we're talking about the training aspect of it, like if I were to program a workout for somebody that's enhanced versus natural, the numbers don't change all that much. You know what I mean? Like a set of 8 still going to be a set of 8, except the weights that you play with are going to be different. You know what I mean?
Like, if you're asking program wise, yeah, there's no difference. Like I'm not gonna like this guy's gonna do 20 sets and you're only gonna do 10 because whatever.
Well, no, there is a difference there. There is a difference there because, for example, you nailed it in the very beginning when you said recovery ability.
Yeah.
Right. If you can recover better because you're on,
yeah,
I can give you a little bit more intensity techniques versus the natural guy.
Yeah.
And the natural guy is going to be crippled for 6 days. Yeah. Right. Let's say he did a leg workout with all these intensity techniques and he's just, limping and walking around. And then the 7th day he has to do legs again versus you. If you're on, I'll give you legs with all these crazy intensity techniques. You're like, yo, bro, I can hit legs again in 3 days.
Yeah.
Right. So from that perspective, like there is some programming changes in terms of intensity. So like for me, it's kind of like, I think I'll have a few more sets to failure, a few more intensity techniques with the people that are enhanced versus the guys that are natural. And this is where you have to just kind of every week look at your training, be like, okay, man, like I was sore for 6 days on legs. Maybe I got to pull things back a little bit. You know what I mean? Like we used to wear like a badge of honor where it's like, oh man, I was sore all week. My whole body hurt all 7 days. Like
Yeah.
we thought we were like, the kings, you know what I mean? And
Man, I
then
used to feel so happy when like I trained somebody, like remember my cousin Mikey and stuff, they used to train. And I remember his mom called me. She said, "What'd you do to him?" I'm like, "I didn't do anything to him." She's like, "Whatever you did to him, make sure you do that again." I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "He hasn't come down from the third floor. He hasn't, because it's 3-story house. He's
yeah.
been in his room and he hasn't come down the stairs for 3-4 days now because he's too scared to come down the stairs."
Oh wow.
And I remember calling him like, "Yo," because he stopped answering my calls. He didn't train after that. I was like, and he called. He's like, "Bro," he's like, "I couldn't get out of bed for 4 days." And man, like I remember telling you, we're just walking around the gym, super pumped, like yeah, like pump him up. But like that used to pump us up. But like now, I'm like, I don't. When someone's too sore, like I feel for them, but like I don't get excited because like I know that sometimes when the person gets too sore, like sometimes it's people are just too scared to come back.
Yeah. You gotta take where they are. There's like a ton of people I work with now. I can't kill them like that, but like if you
I
can get
love it. Till this day, I still do. When I wake up some days, like even though I did back crazy, like I wicked pump, and then I wake up like 3 days later, I'm not sore.
Yeah.
I'm like, I get choked. I'm like, what the hell? I didn't train hard enough. But mind you, I did. I still took it to failure.
Yep.
I just think with everything with the EEAs and glutamine and everything else you're doing, the recovery is just helping, right?
Yeah.
So but yeah, no.
That's what changed with me. Like I remember I still to this day, I'm like, oh, my chest isn't sore. That workout wasn't enough. And then I have this like I saved this video with Meadows talking about it. It's like, dude, if you're not sore, that means you can train it again after a couple of days. So you can increase your frequency. Basically. So like if you can increase your frequency, you're getting more reps on that muscle.
Yeah.
Right. And if you can do it and still take sets to failure and not be overtrained and injure yourself, you're gonna have more growth over time. Right. So I have to like sometimes watch that video again just when I catch myself being like, oh man, I didn't train hard enough. Now I gotta adjust my training and add in like a, like 1.5s on hack squat or something like that. Right. So it's one of those things. But I remember we used to wear like a badge of honor where it's like, hey,
like coming in for 3 days, legs are sore. And like, I remember there's times where like my legs are sore and we're about to do legs again.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, they're still sore. Like, but thing is, we wouldn't do anything. Like we didn't back then. We didn't do any of that stretching. We didn't roll out our quads. We would be mangled and just sit there and not move. Barely did cardio. Right?
Actually, no. I used to train jujitsu, right?
Yeah, but, you were like, I think feel like you recovered faster than I did because you actually got blood flow. I would be crippled, just barely moving around the house.
I don't know, man. I don't know if that makes sense because I would train for 2 hours and then I trained jujitsu for 2 hours. No, but so like, I'd have double the training on my body. Think about overall damage of the body.
It was I think you fatigued and damaged yourself, but like the soreness went away because there was just so much blood flow, right? For you, like
dude, the soreness never went away.
No.
So if I wasn't sore from the weights, I was sore from jujitsu.
Yeah.
The soreness never went away. I was basically sore for 6 years, bro.
I still remember that one time we were training and we did legs and we went to train and I don't know who was. It was in Richmond. And, like we were doing takedowns, and all the guy did was he just grabbed my one leg up and bro, I just fell. I was like, because I had the legs were so sore, I had no control on my leg. I collapsed. The guy's like looking at me. I'm like,
it feels like you fall like you got shot. That's how bad it is.
Just, like the guy's like looking at me like he didn't even do anything. I'm like, I'm like, man, this is not a good day to take that. Not a good day.
All right, we'll do a couple more. Okay, this one is my weight loss plateaued. I can't lose weight. What should I do? I've been in a calorie deficit, sitting at 1,000 calories per day right now, down 16 pounds since I started, and I want to lose 16 more.
For me, I think that's crazy. If that's a girl or guy, I don't know who's asking. 1,000 calories is like, that's low. Insane. That's way too low. There's so many aspects to it that could be happening. Your body's in a fight or in flight stage that whatever you're eating is just now going to get stored. I think a reset, a refeed, maybe change of your training program, just little things like that. You're gonna have to look at it, the whole aspect of what you're doing. Maybe just, yeah, it's a whole review, personally, in my opinion. It's a very vague question, but you just have to review the whole process of like, what's your diet? What are you eating? Maybe you need a refeed. Maybe you need more calories. Maybe your metabolism's too slow and needs to be sped up. So maybe you need to push high calories for a bit. Like there's so many aspects, right? Like it's not there's no answer to that. I think that could fix it other than you got
Yeah,
to
we need more information.
yeah, like
But like
big.
if we're gonna give you something, so your weight loss plateaued, you've lost 16. It seems like you probably dropped your calories a little too fast, unless the calories are already low from the get-go. I think it depends. There's nothing explained in terms of even how much cardio the person's doing, but I'm gonna assume you're doing a good amount of cardio. Because there are some people that are like, screw it, I'm not doing cardio, just pull the food down as much as you want, right?
Then there's the people that just only do cardio.
Yeah. What
right?
I would
Like,
say is even a refeed's probably not gonna work.
no,
I would do I would do what you suggested where you gotta spend some extended time with calories up. So I would say do something like a diet break where your calories are up, like maybe from carbs, maybe like 20 to 30% of what you're at right now. So that would be like, maybe 250 calories more for a couple days and see how your body responds like per day. I bet you after 7 days, you probably lose weight. In my opinion, your body, everything is going to start to upregulate. So try that and then pull your cardio down at the same time. So if you're doing an hour of cardio a day, do half an hour. If you're doing half an hour, do 15 minutes. Try that out. But if you want that question answered, like if you're listening to the podcast, we just give us more information next time. Like, your height, your weight, how many days a week you're training. The more information you can give, the better we can answer the question. But like, just if I was just going to give like advice, if that was me, like, let's say that was me in that situation, I'd probably increase my calories by 20 to 30%. I would probably spend at least 7 days with higher calories, mostly from carbohydrates. Might adjust my fats a little bit. That's another thing too. If your fats are gone, bad idea. Like I used to be the no fat guy at like late stages. I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I learned my lessons from putting myself through that hell. I had a couple clients that I noticed a big dip when I pulled their fats. So right now, man, any person at any stage of their diet, women, I never let them go down lower than 30 to 35 grams of fat a day. That's at the lowest end. And men is 40 to 45. I don't let them go lower than that because I noticed like the change when I pull, like I had times where I pulled it lower and you can notice like everything starts to drop off. So
man, I remember when I dropped my fats and like I wasn't using any fats because I thought fats are bad. I was so flat.
Yeah.
Like it was insane, just the difference. And then as soon as like at that time Tyrone, he's like, just add in a tablespoon of peanut butter, olive oil back in your meals, and did that for a few weeks, and the difference was insane.
Yeah, I think where people miss the mark is fats are essential. They're necessary. You're going to need them. You can get away with lower carbohydrates or no carbohydrates for the most part. It's kind of hard to do no carbohydrates if you're having vegetables and stuff because they have trace. But yeah, I definitely agree with you there, man. Like usually when people get any kind of metabolic adaptations where their body slows down, hormones go down, generally the main precursors are like if fats are accounted for and proteins accounted for, you kind of want to just adjust the carbs and push the carbs up. But if your fats are like non-existent, you should be adding those back in. And this is where I think like having the right eye, knowing when it's time for, a 1-day refeed, a 2-day refeed, a 7-day diet break or a 14-day diet break. Like I had somebody that I had to give them a diet break and they lost weight. So we ran the diet break again. Right. And so they ran it for 2 weeks. The first week they lost 1.5 pounds and the second week they maintained the weight off. So I was almost about to do another week because they looked better by adding calories in, which technically for the thermodynamics nerds that are like calories in, calories out, it doesn't make sense. But when you add in food, you're going to fidget more, you're going to walk more, you're going to have more energy, your hormones are going to get better, you'll sleep better, your neat's going to increase because you finally feel like you got more food and energy. So there's a lot more to this thing than just like calorie deficit, move, because you can run yourself into the ground that way. Okay, we'll do one more. This is a good one. I want to know your views on this. So what do people mean by maintenance calories? And then I added on can they be changed, or can they change as you diet or get bigger?
Mm-hmm. I think they can.
So what are maintenance calories from your point of view?
Maintenance calories are your daily calorie intake over a week period where your weight doesn't change. So like, let's say I'm just gonna track whatever I eat, and like let's start from getting. Someone asks you, "What's your maintenance calories?" Most people are gonna be like, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah.
So basically, if you have a regimen diet, or you're a person that generally eats the same kind of stuff every day, just download MyFitnessPal, track those every meal you eat for a week, every day, and then you'll see if you at the end of the week, if you gained weight or lost weight, you'll know. If you didn't gain or you didn't change, generally that's your maintenance level. The bigger you get, the leaner you get, the less fat you have. I think your calories can for sure go up, because the more muscle you have, the more you're going to be burning and everything whatnot. So that's where my definition of maintenance is. It's figuring out what calories can you eat every day for a week's time where your weight doesn't change.
Yeah. So 100%. I don't take like the daily, like what you ate in a day, and if your weight stayed the same. You want to do it for like a week.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
But I track it every day.
Yep.
Just to get an idea of what your daily calorie intake is.
Yep.
But over the week span of calculating it for a week, you're gonna get an idea. Okay, I eat these many calories every day. Eat the same thing. Don't change anything.
Yep.
And you'll know if it's
most people on average, their weight fluctuates about 5 pounds, but even if they ate kind of the same way they've been eating, they kind of fall in the same ballpark of their weight. But can they change? So I know there's like debate about this, about like set points and things like that, but I'll give you an example. So like, let's say I start off Sonny's calories, peak off season, he's eating 5,000 calories a day. And then we slowly throughout the weeks, we start pulling food down, and he's cutting and he's cutting and he's cutting. Let's say he gets down to about 3,000 calories. Mm-hmm. Now, generally when you do a refeed or a diet break or whatever, you try to take the calories back to maintenance level. Now, if I had you at 3,000, your body's adapted to 3,000 calories, and I gave you like a $5,000 calorie refeed, maybe one day it wouldn't be too bad. It might be enough to refill, but they'll reach a point where it's like, oh, if I take you down to 2,000 and then now you eat 5,000, you might throw away the whole week's worth of progress. Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, what I believe, in my opinion, is your set point changes. So Sonny is now down to 2,000 calories, and his body's adapted to that point. Doing like one day might not ruin anything, but it depends on how extreme it is. But I would say that your maintenance calories are now at that range, and then you would adjust to an estimated maintenance, right? So if I were to do a refeed from 2,000 calories, I wouldn't be doing 6,000 calories, right? I noticed that people, they do better if I give them 2 or 3 day refeeds, more calories for 3 days. Especially imagine if I had you at like 185, you're shredded to the bone, but we had to pull calories pretty low. Now, before we would just do that one high day. And the thing is, man, when we do the one high day, it's like sometimes it's not even enough for the person. Right. And I'm like, you know what? Why not just increase the calories like 20, 30% and do like one day? Sonny, just send me your pictures. Oh, you look better and you lost weight. Okay, do another day. Do another day. And this is where I always used to think like this is the way coaching should be. It shouldn't be like have your one high day and you're done, and then we reset again. Right. And it's my progression and just like learning as a coach that I learned like, hey, it can't be linear like that. Right. It can work to a certain point. And I noticed the leaner that you get, it's better to do it that way. So if I have you at 2,000, I might bring your calories up to maybe 2,500, and I'll be like, do 2 days like that. So 2,500 could simply be like this, man. It could be eat your normal 2,000, go out and grab some sushi. Couple rolls is going to get you 500 calories. You're going to get the carbohydrates. You're going to get the sodium from the soy sauce, you know, and you're going to get the meat in there, right? Maybe avoid some of the cream cheese stuff. And I noticed like, oh, you lost weight. Do it again. You're like, oh, sweet. I can do it again. And the psychology changes in the person. They go from like, are you sure, man? Like, I don't know. And it's like, well, you lost weight. Do it again. Day 2, they're like, yo, dude, my weight stayed off. So we might get to, and you know what? I'll tell you the truth. There are certain clients where like you get the food low enough, hormones start to get affected. And some people have to get that low, to be honest. Like these people that say like, never let your calories get low to get lean. It's like, no, you can like, it might be like 4 days really low like that, but then we might have to do 3 days refeed, right? Higher calories, bump it back up. And then so now you're like, you might pull down, and then from there, the food goes up and you're like, okay, so your hormones never down regulate, right? And you just keep losing fat as you go. And if you're doing things like walking instead of doing HIIT cardio, you're dropping the amount of load on the body from muscle breakdown. So that's why, like, now I look at things in a perspective of like, first of all, if you're going to be 60 years old and I tell you to do HIIT cardio, you're going to be like, kick rocks, right? But if you're 60 years old and I say, hey, go for a walk, right? Watch what you eat here and just get in the gym whenever you feel like it. You could be 60 years old and you could be in phenomenal shape, because I changed my view on a lot of things, man. I have some clients that are like, hey man, like, I don't want to do HIIT cardio. It's just not fun for me. Right. So then I'm like, do you like walking? They're like, absolutely. I throw something on Netflix. I watch something. I put it on a little bit of an incline. 30 minutes just flies by. Yeah. You adjust their diet. You let them go in the gym and train the way that they want to train. And you're going to have people like crazy progress.
Yeah.
Right. So
that's one thing I learned too, man. I think lately, especially, is meeting people where they're at. It's not these expectations thing is one thing I'm really trying to get out of. Is you can't expect people to just change or jump on this mindset. Like, it's a lifestyle. It's not just a fad of 6 months dieting and I'm going to go back to regular life eating shit. You're going to do that, you're going to have the yo-yo diet effect, right? You're going to constantly be up and down. You're never going to be happy. But it's meeting people where they're at. Like, I see where they're at. Yeah, I think we're both at a point now where you can just, over one conversation with somebody, you can kind of see where they're at knowledge-wise, where they're at training-wise, where they're at just in general. You just meet them where they're at. The little changes. Yo, just what's your daily? You drink a lot of pop? Okay, cut your pop out.
Yep.
Right? Little things at a time. You don't drink any water? Well, start drinking 2 liters of water, 3 liters of water.
Yeah. Holy crap. Like, this is a mess. Yeah. You're drinking like 1 glass of water, 10 grams of protein, everything's all carbs and fats, and you don't walk. Yeah. And if I just make you eat more protein, you're full. I get you drinking more water, you're full. And now you're walking. Next thing you know, you're like, hey man, I'm eating more food and I'm losing weight. What the heck? You're a magician. It's like, no, it's just, like and those people, they won't see a macro spreadsheet for months.
Yeah.
It'll just be like, I need you to eat this many grams of protein per meal. And here's like 50 examples of how you can do that. And then they just go ahead and do that. And most of the time, man, most people are like 2-3 changes: water, protein, a little bit of activity, maybe hit the gym.
Downstairs.
They hit the gym and it's done deal. Or under consuming protein so much, I get them to flavor their water with essential amino acids. I'll be like, just have like 1 bottle, liter and a half, 1 scoop of aminos. They're like, oh, this tastes pretty good. Because, aminos do taste pretty darn good nowadays.
They do.
Right? You do like tell somebody to take 2 bottles of that. They've got like maybe about 20 grams of essential amino acids throughout the day. And, they got aminos surging through their body, and they might not even eat ridiculous amounts of protein, but they're good. Right. So, I mean, that's huge, meeting people where they're at. But like I said, if it was younger me, I would have been like, nah, you have to do it this way. Right. Yeah. So it's like more of a, as you age, you can get wiser, but we should cut it off, man. It was good chatting with you, bro.
You too, bro.
Yeah. We'll line up another one, maybe tomorrow, or, let's try to rock one tomorrow if we can, and then we'll see if somebody wants to hop on as well. We can do an interview based one.
Yeah, that works. Tomorrow I think we're training at. We'll find out what time though.
I think he said 11.
11, okay.
Yeah, 11 works better for me. Well, 11 or 12, it doesn't matter. I gotta see what my schedule looks like though.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, bro.
All right, bro. Peace.
Take care, man. Peace.